Andrey, thank you for being here. It's really good to have you. How are you feeling?
Absolutely. It's awesome.
What have you been up to during the COVID times the last 18 months?
So we've just been working the whole time. We stopped our youth ministry for some time, stopped meeting in person. So we did some virtual meetings. Then we did some meetings in a park, local park. We got together, had like food, like pizza, volleyball, had conversations with people. So, and we never really quit. We just, kept on serving people, kept on getting together, kept on working. And there was a little season of just like resting a bit and reevaluating things, how we used to do them for the first, I would say a month. It was, I think, March. But then after that, kind of everything went back to work.
Absolutely. And I think like a lot of Slavic people, after last year's elections, a lot of folks perhaps lost hope or they were just very discouraged. How did you feel through the 2020 election?
Well, so 2020 election didn't go my way. So
right.
it was sort of like a bummer because it looked like we had a strong movement. But then 2020 was marked with, the pandemic, all the fear, forest fires in Oregon and Washington. And then, we thought it can't get worse. 2020 is really bad. And 2021 came. And then we see all these mandates. We see almost like communism coming to the U.S. with all these mandates, with closing down businesses, with the government telling us what to do, what not to do. And you're thinking, okay, 2020 was bad. 2021 is even worse. And I think after living in 2021, this is where it's getting even more maybe discouraging about politics. And you're thinking does my vote even matter? Does the people that I choose in public office, are they really doing their job if all this is happening? And why is this all happening? And
right.
How is it possible?
Right.
In America we have socialism and we have dictatorship in America.
Yeah, for sure.
It's unreal.
Well, what encourages me specifically, you remember earlier this week we were at your youth service or at your church, and we had quite a bit of young people really get excited about registering and voting. So some of them were under 18, so they couldn't vote just yet, but half of them or most of them were going to be 18 next year. So they were all really excited. In fact, we took some really awesome pictures that we're going to put up on Instagram tonight. But that was very encouraging to see the young people stepping up.
Absolutely. As they should be.
They should be.
As they should be. Positive and encouraging. That's awesome.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
There's so much to look forward to. And I believe, speaking for the whole nation, maybe the political system, I believe that it's going to get back. It's going to get even better in terms of openness, transparency in our political sphere. If enough people do stand up and if not enough people make a difference and are bold and courageous to speak out against the tyranny that is happening right now. And I believe America is going to come back stronger and better than ever before.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Well, that's good to hear. Well, as I kind of said earlier during the Russian introduction, we were talking about the election that's coming up here in just a few weeks. In just less than a week, actually. I apologize. November 2nd will be the general election of 2021. And many folks who are hearing this, I would imagine 50% of people didn't even know about it or they don't care, unfortunately. And these elections that happen every year that are considered, small local elections, they a lot of times really influence what's going on locally. And all these mandates that are happening all across the state through the governor and through the city councilors and just on a local level, that's all essentially determined by who's getting elected in these elections. And so I really hope the Slavic community gets out and votes. How do you feel about this local elections? Do you think they're more important than the presidential elections, or just as important, or the presidential is even more important?
Well, I think it's more important for us living in a state. For example, I'm in Oregon, so local elections impact me more than the general elections, than nationwide elections do. So for me, like for example, taxes, how the city gets managed, right? All these things that impact my life the most is in local elections. So I would say local elections is first. If we need to get involved, like it's locally. First get involved locally, and then branch out and get involved in national politics. But everybody votes in the national elections because it's fun. It's a big deal. There's a lot of hoopla around it, everybody talking about it. Yeah. But it is the local elections that make the biggest impact to our lives, and that's very important.
I know your youth in your church, you guys essentially make a big party out of the general elections, usually the presidential elections.
Yeah, we do. We love it. Every general election we get together for a good time. It's on a Tuesday night, and Tuesday night is our regular gathering times. We gather every single week. So
the youth service.
For the youth gathering, yeah. We get together, we build relationships, we sing together, we have a speaker, so it's educational, and we usually have some food, fellowship, and so whenever it's election night, we get together, we buy like food, pizza, and we have a good time, and we watch the elections.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah, I remember, last year, you guys had a photo booth, I think, and some props, and just made a fun deal out of it.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. Do you encourage other youth members and youth leaders, other churches, to kind of embrace it more?
Absolutely. I once said, I think in 2020, I said that every other pastor should become a political leader, because there's a lot of pastors, and they're doing a tremendous work in the community. They're doing a lot of spiritual work, and I think that many people don't realize how important politics is. Many people just, they just kind of brush it off. They say, "Oh, politics, it's not for us. Politics is nothing spiritual. Let somebody else take care of it." But in reality, time passes by, and you see that politics impacts you personally, impacts your family, impacts everybody who are in your community. And then you start realizing, oh man, like I never cared about politics, but politics always cared about me.
Right.
Politics always had some kind of agenda for me, some kind of agenda for my community and everybody around me. So now I'm realizing that us as pastors, or us as people that are active in the community, influential people that do not care about politics, they should really begin to think about their inactivity and how that's influencing their local politics and national politics. Because they will come, politics will come after you, and then you'll be like, oh man, why didn't I see that coming? And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. It's exactly what we're seeing right now. Absolutely.
Well, I totally agree. And one thing, when I talk to either some folks at church or at events that normally are not big fans of political activity in church, they always talk about, it's not meant to be in church, or we as Christians shouldn't be so active in politics because our maybe grandparents that's how they grew up, and that's how they believe. How I see it is, when we look at the Soviet Union, there's really not much that could have been done, where if you active, or if you become super active, you couldn't really affect it as much, because just of the way the country was structured, perhaps.
The way the system was built.
Yeah, the system
couldn't do anything.
Yeah, the system here is built on self-governance. If whoever is the loudest, whoever is the most active, the group-wise, is the ones that kind of leads the agenda for the country. And we've been seeing for the last, 50, 60 years, for us, 20 years, a slow decline in the I guess the more family-friendly communities just kind of declining, getting into more of their own business, taking care of their own families, and not really paying attention to what's going on in the country, and taking care of the government. The other people who have their agenda, they started getting in more and doing, pushing their agenda, and now we see this, and folks that are starting to vote, starting to wake up, you get discouraged when after one election nothing happens, or nothing major happens, or what they want doesn't happen. They have to remember that this happened not only throughout 1 year. This happened in many years. So in order for us to start reversing back,
it took a decade to come to this point, maybe more.
It could take, we can't give up right away. We have to keep fighting and keep changing and getting more active and more involved. And
absolutely,
like I said, self-governance is the way this country is built. And unfortunately, if the folks that are trying to change this country, they're trying to change it to where won't have that option anymore. So for the little while that we do have, we need to get more involved. We need to start voting better, and so we need to make sure the Slavic community comes out and votes 100%, not 10%, not 20%. Like usually the general elections, and when it comes to these local elections, it's about 20-30% turnout. We need to make sure it's 100% turnout, and that's how we can turn things around.
Yeah, especially our community, the Slavic community, they have experienced communism firsthand.
Yeah,
like my grandpa was an engineer. He was educated. He was, a master in his craft. And he couldn't hold a job because every time he would find a good job, the factory would receive a letter from the communists up from Moscow, and it would say, this Ivan guy, he is against the Soviet party, he's against our, worldview, so you cannot hold him. You have to fire him. You have to lay him off. So he would get fired. He would go to a new city, another town. He would move his family the whole time. He would get another job. After just months, he would get fired again. And these directors of these factories, companies, they would tell him, sorry, we can't do anything. If we don't fire you, they will go after us. We can't do anything about it. And we lived through that. The Slavic community lived through that. And now we're here in the United States, and the exact same thing that our parents fled, our grandparents fled, is happening here.
Cancel culture.
Yeah, they're
it's not new.
Telling you that you have to receive your vaccines. No, I'm sorry. I'm not against vaccines, right? I don't think there's a lot of people that say no, vaccines is straight up evil. It could be. In my opinion, I don't endorse vaccines. I think it's a power play, right? But even if, you should always have a choice, right? Even they're concerned about the health of people, they can't just push some kind of thing down everybody's throats because they can't do that, because every single person has a choice, whether it be vaccines, whether it be masks, whether it be some kind of education. Everybody has a choice. And I understand some people think it's the greatest thing, okay, but everybody has a choice. So when we're here in the United States and we're seeing the same thing, Stalin, Lenin, they had a great idea. They're oh, let's push it down on everybody, and everybody has to follow the rule. In the Soviet Union, it was an atheist state, so they're we're atheists. Everybody has to be atheist. If you're no, I don't agree with your whole philosophy, they kill you. They put you to prison. And we're seeing the same thing here, where it's okay, you have to agree with the LGBT agenda, and you have to use pronouns. It's no, I'm okay. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. And you get canceled.
Right.
You get fired. The resemblance is so obvious. And I think it's up to the Slavic community here in the United States to stop that kind of socialism. We don't need that here in America.
Absolutely. And then the more we do this, the more and more I'm convinced that we're here for a reason. And this is the reason. I think we grew up listening to all these stories. We know firsthand, our parents know firsthand what happens when the country turns to communism.
Yeah.
to communism or socialism. So we know firsthand that this is what we're seeing right now is it's already happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we almost cannot just walk by and not do anything. I feel like it's gonna be on us, partly on us for not standing up and essentially speaking out against this.
Yeah. Our kids will ask us, like, what
Yeah.
happened? 2020, 2021.
Right.
And we'll be like, well, we didn't do anything,
Yeah.
We hope, somebody else is going to come and save us. No.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely.
Jesus already came and saved us. We have received everything that we have. Like, we need to act.
Right. Absolutely.
We already have a savior.
Absolutely.
We don't need anybody else to come and save us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and like I mentioned, like the election is coming up. It's just literally just around the corner. We're gonna have the election in Washington specifically. If you're listening to this program and you live in Oregon, don't get too scared. You are not gonna have elections in Oregon. You're gonna have maybe in some areas you're gonna have small elections, like a measure or two.
Well,
but
that's this year.
This year, yeah.
Yeah.
This is just what's coming up here in just under a week.
Yeah.
But if you're living in Washington, you're going to have a very, very important election. And one of the main, when we go out and register people and
Mhm.
talk to people, one of the main things that they say is, well, I don't know who to vote for,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't really care. I don't want to try. We actually took care of that problem, specifically an organization that is partnered with us called SV Action. Before, we used to study all the candidates and put out information so you know who to vote for based on your values, and you can find the candidate that's best rated to your expectations, and you can vote. This year, there's an organization called SV Action, and they took on a big role by doing the similar work, but essentially took down another barrier. And to make it even easier, we eliminated the candidates that stand against the Slavic culture and the Christian values, and they gave you those candidates that are
plain and simple.
Yeah. So if you are listening to this and you haven't filled out your ballot yet, or maybe you want to double check, make sure you voted correctly based on, again, those values, the Slavic community values, you can go to our website. It's just simply slavicvote.org, and immediately you'll be, it'll be a landing page that will take you to the link where you'll find that information. So it's, again, really easy, slavicvote.org, and it'll take you to the landing page where you can find all the information that you need to vote in this general election that's coming up in 2021. Again, Washington State is where it really matters. Oregon, if you're receiving a ballot, reach out to us. We'll be happy to look over it and kind of explain to you if you're having a hard time understanding.
Yeah.
So,
And you're talking about voting. Voting, I believe, is just a starting point.
absolutely.
Right, Slavic Vote, we're all about like registering people, educating people, and empowering them actually to run for public office, or encouraging their friends to run. Some people think like casting a vote is like, they change the world. Like, okay,
It's a start.
It's a start. It's a good start. It's a small dent, and that's what I think our mind should be. Where when we vote, we're just getting our foot in the door. The next step is actually educating ourselves on how the political system works here in the United States, because it's much different than the Soviet Union, right?
Absolutely.
Like, who knew, right? It's very different. Next thing is to really see which kind of positions, what kind of people affect us in our lives in ways, and which positions affect us most. And then we can see, okay, which positions do we actually need to take? Which people do we need to encourage to run for those public offices? Where do we need to get ourselves educated and involved more? Go to city council meetings, or go to meetings with representatives and senators. And because if we are to see America thrive, we need to make a difference. We need to speak up. We can't just, vote and that's it. We need to start doing more.
Right.
Because this is our home now. I'm a United States citizen. Many of the Slavic community are citizens of the United States of America. They are in charge of this country.
Absolutely.
President, he serves us. Our senators, our representatives, they serve us. And if we just, sort of slack on our responsibilities, then, it's on us.
Absolutely. Well, if folks are listening to us and they want to join our conversation, we're always open to hearing other people's, perspectives and other people's opinions, and we would love to have a discussion. So if you're listening right now and you want to tune in and call us, we're happy to take a phone call or two. You can just simply call 503-238-9000. And once again, if you have a question, if you want to throw a topic for us to go over, just simply 503-238-9000. Perhaps you disagree with us. We would love to have a discussion with you and
we would.
And try to just have a civil discussion and not get too emotional because both very chill guys.
We can have emotional conversation. That's cool.
Yeah,
for sure. Anything goes.
For sure. Well, the election is coming up. So, and you mentioned something. You're talking about, we have to take that next step. If you're listening and you haven't voted before, your first step is to get out and vote. Your first step is to get out there, fill out that ballot, and drop it off. And I would say, the first time I voted, I felt it felt really empowering.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just a very unique feeling, and it kind of drives you to do more because you are starting to take on something very serious. And so if you haven't voted before, that's the first step you got to take. Don't worry about everything else Andrey mentioned so far, because your first step is to get out there and actually get out and vote. And then for those people who have been voting for many years or for a few years now, your next step is to start looking at where can I go, what kind of maybe board meeting could I go to and listen to what's going on in my city, and speak out against the things that you don't like, and encourage to continue the good things that are going on in your state, in your city, in your county. So that's for the folks who have been, actively in getting involved and actually voting for a while. And then thirdly, if you're a leader in your community, or not even a leader, if you are passionate about what's going on in the country, you might be called to run for a local office. And what's nice is that we've been doing this for a little while, and we have connections to help you set you up to a point where it'll be a smooth campaign, smooth run for a local office, and start something somewhere small like those board meetings. Start where you can run and win a race where you could influence your city, your county, your state, and then you can slowly grow into a bigger positions. But what's interesting is, doing this for a little while and meeting different elected officials. One thing that I learned is the folks that are running the state, they're not much different than me and you.
Yeah, they're simple people.
They're very simple people that are passionate about the state.
Yeah.
Some are passionate in ways that we are not passionate, and perhaps are more destructive in our opinions. So in order for us to change that, we actually have to step up and run and change that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you have been talking quite a bit about running for local office, and I know that I ran for earlier this year, just a kind of a test run. You've been busy, so you couldn't actually do it, but you were thinking about it this year as well. But definitely in the future, you're considering it. And I know that you boldly last year announced that you were planning to run for mayor eventually in Portland, and that'll be a very interesting run. I believe in 3 years is the mayor another race. So what encouraged you to run? Or what encouraged you to want to run?
Yeah. So it's an April Fool's joke.
Yes.
Yeah, but
there's some truth to it.
I am absolutely. I am a PCP, so I'm a precinct committee person for my precinct.
For folks who are not familiar with that, what that really quickly, what is that?
Yeah, it's an elected position in a particular party, so either Democratic Party or Republican, and you help your precinct party members basically get involved, vote, to help them get educated, and if there's a very important measures or people to vote for elections, you just call them and you remind them to vote. For example, our neighborhood, we have a lot of Slavs living there, so we just talk on the phone and tell them, guys, it's really important, make sure you vote, make sure you vote on these certain
measures and candidates.
Yeah, and candidates.
And I would add to that, you really when you are a precinct committee officer or precinct committee person in Oregon, you're actually also helping dictate what kind of candidates that are running in the area that you live in. Because for one, you a lot of times you help by endorsing candidates, or you help them navigate the process, because half the people that run, they just decided to run randomly. They've never been involved, so half the time they are just jumping in. And those folks who have been involved, like PCP, PCO members, they can be there as a support group for those people to get out there and just help them out. So that's one thing that I definitely recommend is do that, and I think you'll learn a lot, and you'll be able to really just get more encouraged and more bold about what you believe in.
You get to meet people in your area that are involved in politics. I think it's a very healthy way to start. After you begin to vote, then you can become a PCP, help others around you vote and get involved, and then from there you can move on to different positions.
Absolutely.
And
I want to take a quick moment. I know our time is always running fast. We can never keep up. Being here, it doesn't take it takes some time. It takes finances. It takes resources, and in general, just doing the work that we do. All of us, we do this for free. So we're all volunteers, but we do have sponsors who support our work, who support specifically financing our registration drive booths, supporting again the time that we have here on the radio, and just in general just giving us resources to get out there and be more impactful. So I just want to highlight some of those sponsors that we have, and just thank them for their support. And if you're listening and you want to help us out, you can always again go on our website slavicvote.org, hit that donate button, and every dollar helps further our mission. And so those folks who have decided to step up and enter our Gold Sponsor Club, and sponsor this program and sponsor other things. And these are some of the folks that I want to mention today. American Best Realty is one of those organizations, one of those businesses that have been very passionate about what we do, and they decided to sponsor us for a few years now. And then there's organizations like Solution 8020. They do great work with taxes. There's also Red Hills Construction. That's another good organization, a good business that does helps us out. Cibroni and Pelmeni are two organizations that Andrey is personally involved with. And quickly, you guys do pelmeni, is that correct?
Yeah.
And you guys sell them all across Oregon and Washington.
Yeah. Oregon, Washington, we make pelmeni, and you can find them in any ethnic Russian-Ukrainian store.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're here to further Ukrainian and Russian food and cuisine in Portland. So. And
Andrey's two organizations that he's a part of, businesses. Not only is he involved, actually getting out there and helping further the mission when it comes to registration drives and just being active. He's, his business is also help out financially. So he's kind of taking a double dive and helping us from both sides. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and all these businesses, I also want to add to that. They're all like Slavic people-run businesses that are part of this community, like Portland, Vancouver.
Yep.
And they truly care. They employ people here in Portland, Vancouver. They provide services and products here locally. So you supporting these businesses, the money comes back into the Slavic community, into this local community, and helps, our community do better as a whole.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you're interested to just jump in and jump into our organization and help us financially, we're always happy to talk to you. And you can just find a link on our website. Just to tap that button on there that says donate, or you can just request a meeting with us, and we'll tell you a little more about some of the benefits that you get by being a sponsor. And we can talk about that and help you in many ways. And I'm excited to also, last week we announced we have a new sponsor. There's a really cool business just recently launched, TH or the House, and they help. They help. First of all, they helped our website. They essentially redone our website where it looks really, really nice now. If you just go on our website slavicvote.org, you'll see some of the new things that we have on there. And Andrey, have you seen it yet so far? It just got launched.
When?
just a day or two.
Really?
Yeah, you should check it
I
out.
actually haven't seen it.
I'm gonna bring it up really quick as well. So it automatically goes into our the Washington general election voter registration
Mhm.
material. So you'll see automatically all of the sponsors that we have are on there. And again, thanks to the Third House Media who helped do that. So they're our new sponsor, and they helped us with the website. So
Yeah, thank you guys.
should-
Super fresh.
Yep. Yeah, so you should check it
Yeah.
out. Again, Third House Media and Brand Strategy essentially is what they do. So, all right. Well, Andrey, you mentioned a little bit about you mentioned some staying positive.
Yeah, I think a big deal with being involved in politics is how we look at the future. Are we optimistic about the future or are we pessimistic about the future? I think it has to do a lot with how we vote, and even if we like do vote or not, or how we get involved or not. Because I've come across many of our Slavs that are just like pessimists. They're like, no, the whole world is still gonna end soon. Like it's all gonna crash and burn, and we're just living towards that day. And they don't take the slightest effort to make it better because like why try if everything is getting worse? And I think fundamentally it's a very it's a very flawed way of thinking, because if we think things are going to get worse, then the chances of things getting worse is actually higher, because like we're constantly looking for things to get worse. And I argue this point a lot with people. For example, I would much rather be an optimist who see things maybe rosy, like things are going to improve, rather than a person that sees like everything is going to get worse and we're all going to die, everything's going to burn, and say I'm wrong, right? I see as the things changing and being positive, and I'm wrong. And then 50 years pass by and things are worse. Things are like horribly wrong and the world is burning and it's being destroyed. Then I'm like, man, I was wrong this whole time. I tried to live the best life I could. I tried to do everything that I can to make a difference, but I was wrong. Like I really tried, but I was wrong. At least I tried. And if I happen to be on the position where I'm a pessimist and I was wrong, right? So if I'm a pessimist, everything's gonna be horrible, everything's gonna be terrible. The whole world's gonna burn. We're all gonna die. And actually, it does get better. Like we see our political system getting better. We see our cities grow. We see the homelessness problem taken care of, right? We see the situation with like drug use and suicide rates get better, right? And I was wrong about that. I will look back and I'll feel very bad, because being a pessimist, I didn't want to do anything. I'm like, why try? It's still getting worse. But time passed, and I was not doing anything. I was inactive the whole time. So any sort of ideology that makes us inactive, it's not healthy. And for example, we talk about like the end times, right? The United States was founded on Judeo-Christian values, and those values has helped America a ton, right? I would say without Judeo-Christian values and the founding fathers that held those values, that we wouldn't have the nation that we have today. We wouldn't have the free state that we have today. And America is truly, truly the best place to live in the world. Absolutely the best place to live in the world. And if people like don't believe that, they're like, no, you're talking smack. What are you talking about? Like, go travel. Go to Indonesia. Like, go to Germany. Go to other places, and you'll see. You'll see why America is the best place. So anyway, and in these values, Judeo-Christian values, and a lot of Christians, the Slavic people here in our community, being Christian, I find it alarming that a lot of them have this idea of eschatology, which is the end time theology, that's very, very negative. It's very pessimistic. and it almost paves the way for negativity. It almost paves the way for bad politicians to take power and rule over them, because they're like, well, this needs to happen. This will happen. The Bible says that there will be like worse days ahead, and I really think that these places get misquoted and misunderstood when those things are actually talking about events that have already passed. A lot of those things, that the negative events, the really the end times, is in our past, and what we need to look forward to is actually better, brighter things. And I think we need to understand that if we don't plan and if we don't take actions about seeing those things happen, they won't take place. It's all cause and effect.
Well, it reminds me of, just to take it more on a personal level.
Yeah.
Just think of, every homeowner, they understand that if they just kind of let their house, their property, just kind of let it grow and not cut the grass, not maintain it, then it's gonna slowly start growing huge grass. It's gonna start rusting. It's gonna just start. You're gonna have a bunch of wasps or whatever it's called growing everywhere. Moss, yeah,
algae.
And it's just gonna get nasty and worse and worse. So what we have to do in order to prevent that is maintain it. We have to actually get up and grab that cut grass or whatever cutter and actually start cutting the grass. And I've been the type of person sometimes where you got busy and you don't have the time to cut the grass, and you turn around and you notice that it's not looking very good. So
and it takes twice the effort.
And that's what we're seeing right now. I think is our country has been not maintained well. It's been overrun by weeds and by rust, by things that are not beneficial to our house or to our country. So we have to. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. We're going to have to work extra hard to take care of those things. We might have to invest money into more tools to clean that house. We might have to invest money into to maintain that house better next time. So again, turning back on what we do here, it takes effort, it takes money, it takes passion to do these things. And what motivates me, for example, is the more I study the Bible, the more I learn the history, the more I realize that that we can't just walk by and do nothing.
Yeah, and it's all cause and effect. So what inspires me and why I think the future is so bright, because there's people like you, Dima. There's people like our listeners, like our Lily, our board, Slavic World board. There's people that we interact with. I personally interact with like weekly, that are very passionate about, and they're taking steps about Slavic people not being engaged in politics. So the future is bright because I see a community rising up and saying, hey, we're gonna do something about this. We're not just talking about this, we're not just complaining about it, but we're taking steps. We're gonna go and we're gonna make a demonstration. We're gonna call our elected officials. We're gonna definitely vote. We're gonna get our grandmas and grandpas, uncles and aunts registered to vote. Our babushki, dedushki are definitely gonna vote, and that inspires me. And I see there's definitely a bright future, because there's so many of our people that understand this and taking steps to make a difference. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. And the election that is coming up, that we keep bringing up, let's get out and vote like it's gonna be the best election ever. If it doesn't happen, again, it's not gonna take 1 or 2 elections. It's not gonna take maybe 3 elections. It's gonna take multiple elections. It might take you getting more active in order to turn things around.
Yeah, I also want to make a distinction, Dima. There's you can be an optimist and you can be very definite. You can be like, okay, this is what I want the future to look like. You have like dreams and you're like, we're heading to that future. Or you can be very like indefinite and you can be like, yeah, I'm positive the future is going to be good, but I don't really know. I can't really say how it's gonna look like, and and those people can be optimists, but they're not really trying. Like you can be like, yeah, it would be cool for Portland to be like, it would be cool for the homeless problem to disappear. You know, it would be awesome for lower taxes and businesses to thrive in Portland, right? But with that indefiniteness, it's like we're looking for chance to happen. We're looking for somebody to come and save the day. We're like, well, maybe something will happen and it'll get positive. And really, when we look in history, that never worked, right? Like nothing really happens, nothing good really happens by chance. There has to be people that have a dream, a definite dream, and they can say, this is what's going to happen because I have planned it and I'm going to do it. So instead of being very like indefinite and go like, well, yeah, hopefully it's going to be positive. No, it is going to be positive. Why? Well, because I'm voting. My parents are voting. My babushka dedushka is voting. My uncles and aunts are voting. Secondly, it's going to be better because I have a business and I'm going to resist those things that the government tries to impose on my business. And I'm going to say, no, it goes against my values. It goes against the way, my belief system. I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry, you're going to find me. I'm going to move my business somewhere else. It's actually going to get better because families are going to start teaching their kids. So there has to be specific things that you and me and all of us are going to be doing in order for a positive future to take place. If we don't have those specific actions, and for somebody who's interested in politics, it could be, running for public office, encouraging your friends and family to run for public office, encouraging your friends and family to support you in running for public office. For somebody who's in more like in maybe in spiritual work, they could think about things like, oh, I'm going to get this much people into my community. I'm going to get this much people into the gathering. I'm going to make sure that they're born again. I'm going to make sure that they are baptized in the Holy Spirit, for example. I'm going to make sure that they're moving in spiritual gifts. For somebody who's a business owner, he's like, okay, I'm going to acquire another business. I'm going to grow my revenue. I'm going to introduce these products. So it has to be very definite. We need to see a future. We need to see Portland how it could be. And I see Portland as a city with no homeless people. When the homelessness problem is no longer an issue, is when these people are out at work, they're no longer drug addicts because there are centers that have taken them in and has helped them get off of drugs. And now they're working and they're part of the working society that makes the city a better place. I see Portland as having a conservative value system, a conservative economic system, not just like, giving money away to everybody. I see it as a small government, a city with small government, not, a bunch of bureaucrats that charge taxes and raising taxes every time because they need to, pay all these employees. So these are just some of the things. And I want to challenge you, the listener, right? You're listening to this and I want you to think about
right there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what are some things that you believe in? What are the things that move you and wake you up in the morning? How can you make those things happen in reality? Whether it has to do with politics, whether it has to do with like spirituality, your business, your work, whatever, your family, and actually take action in those steps. Take action in those steps. So we have to become people that have a definite plans for the future, for an optimistic future. And I really urge you, go out for your dreams and go make our city a better place.
Absolutely. I was at an event yesterday, and I really liked a few quotes that guest speaker said. One of my favorites, and I'm paraphrasing this one. Bad things happen when good people don't do anything, or don't do some. If they see something, they don't do something.
Yeah.
When there's something's happening and good people are not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
That's I thought that was very interesting. And the other one is, right now we're going through hard times. It's really hard for a lot of people, at least. For us, I think me and you would like to take on the challenge. If it's hard, we embrace it, and we just essentially go full blown and try to solve that problem. But essentially, the quote that person said was, hard times make strong men, and weak times make weak men. So I think right now we have to embrace it and just look at the future, that it's going to create a stronger future, more courageous people.
Yeah.
And any thoughts about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Leaders rise up when it's difficult, when they're given the opportunity. And without a doubt, we live in very opportunistic times where leadership is much needed.
Yeah.
At every level, leadership is needed. We need young people to rise up and just take that leadership and do things. I actually want to share a quote too from Apostle Peter. It's written in 2 Peter 1:3, and he's saying, I quote, "His divine power has given us everything we need for a godly life through our knowledge of Him who called us by His own glory and goodness." And Peter's, he's saying that we have everything we need for a godly life. We have everything that we need for a life of creativity, a life of passion, a life of optimism, and a life of action. We have everything. We don't lack anything. And sometimes we think like, oh, I wish I had this. Wish I had more money. I wish I had influence. I wish our political system was better. No, we have everything that we need. You, me, and you who are listening, you have everything that you need. You just need to get started. Just do it.
Absolutely. And just to kind of add to what you said earlier, that when you look at the news, when you look at just what's happening, it seems like everything is getting worse and worse, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually the opposite as well.
Gotta turn off the news.
Turn off the news is one.
Yeah.
And if you look at the big picture, and I like to always look at the big picture, and there's a really cool video that I was watching, and if you look at the poverty rate, if you look at just the entire world, how we progressed, sometimes when we look at the kings, when they had obviously they had servants, they had all this food everywhere, they had a lot of meals, and they can order wherever they want. Well, it was limited, of course, but now a lot of times we live in a place where we can take out our phone, and have essentially unlimited varieties of anything. So like the world is getting better and better. Just looking at the life of expectancy, or just how long people live, that's always improved, also improved. But in general, look at the big picture, things are getting better. Absolutely, things are getting better. So we shouldn't be discouraged by that, because the news, their job is to sell fear. Yeah. And it just makes things worse. Yeah, I don't even watch the news because it's just so detrimental to like my psyche and the way I feel. So just turn it off. Everything that like I need to know, I will find out. Like everybody's gonna be talking about it. Right. And very true. I think world poverty rate is at the lowest has ever been. The amount of people, the rate of people that can read and write is the highest that it has ever been. Economic growth and inequality is incredibly low. Even though we in the United States we have seen inequality increase, especially in the last 2 years, in 2020, 2021. If we look at the whole world, even as you alluded to, kings and servants, it was a huge divide back in the day. Now everybody's like mostly same and similar in economic standing. We do have a lot of work to do here in the United States, but it's definitely going to get even better. Yep, absolutely. And so, yeah, if we look at just the world and just the big picture, we're, if I heard correctly, we're a lot richer than, even though some of the people who are not maybe doing that great, we're a lot more successful or richer than most people in this world.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times it's because of the United States, because of the
Oh, yeah.
capitalism, and unfortunately, there's folks who are trying to eliminate capitalism. And of course, no system is perfect,
Mhm.
right? Capitalism not perfect, socialism and communism is not perfect.
Yeah.
Far, that's not even a word that
Far
should
from
be
perfect.
associated with those words. But there's no perfect system. But capitalism is still
The best system
the
that
best
we have.
system that
Yeah.
brought us to the successful the just the Slavic community alone.
Yeah, we have
we've
seen socialism. We have seen
Yeah.
communism.
Absolutely.
It's not that great,
Absolutely.
to say the
Well,
least.
We're looking at
So-
the time. The time is like always against us, and so I just want to make a few quick announcements. And just in closing, I'll have Andrey just to say a few more words. But essentially, we just want to say if you have tuned into this radio program, just maybe recently, and you haven't listened to the entire thing, you want to listen to the whole thing. One, these are always streamed live on Facebook on Slavic Family, and we also re-air or we upload all these videos on our YouTube page. So you can simply just tune in, just search us on YouTube, Slavic Vote Live on YouTube. You can also go on our website. Everything that you need, everything that we have is all available on our website as well. So, and we just mentioned earlier that we have a brand new website that just got launched just in a day or two. Looks fresh, looks clean, and easier to navigate. And that voter guide, if you haven't voted yet, you can find all the information who to vote for based on your values. You can vote and find that information on our website. And lastly, if you want to stay updated with what we're doing, what's going on just in general in this country, in the state, but again, where are we going? What kind of events are we putting on or we're going to? You can also just follow us on our social media, Slavic Vote. Just simply search us on Facebook, Instagram. Like I said, YouTube is also a place. Maybe eventually Twitter. We don't have anybody yet who can really. I know you're pretty active on Twitter. Maybe you can someday. But in general, you can find all that information on Instagram, and we oftentimes put out these videos also on our social media to change it up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely follow us. Help us out by just following us on social media. It helps quite a bit, and sharing our content. Sending it to your friends that that maybe need encouragement. So I hope this program was an encouragement for many.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd love to always hear from people who are listening to us. If you're listening to us and you live in another state, maybe not Oregon or Washington, tune in, and just make a comment on these videos. Just in general, write us a message that you're listening, what you like, what you don't like. We would love to improve whatever we're doing that maybe is not that great. But we always love to hear feedback on all of our and everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
So please don't be silent. Sometimes we wonder if somebody even hears us because we don't know. We don't know what happens out there. So we just kind of have faith that what we're doing matters, and that that it's getting to people.
Yeah. And Dima, thank you for being active, for inspiring other people to
Thank you.
do more. And it's a very opportunistic time right now to be alive. And
Absolutely.
there's so much things that each and every one of us can do. And I just want to, encourage people to be optimistic, to have a definite plan for the future, something that sparks, excitement for the future, and just go and do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're, if you love what we do and you want to join our team, that's always something we always love to have young people or anybody really join our team and just, volunteer with us. It's really easy. It's a great experience, and it looks good in the resume as well. So we encourage you to just go on our website. There's a place where it says becoming a volunteer, and you can just type in your information and it'll arrive to our email, and we'll be able to reach out to you and find a great spot for you where you can find yourself active and you can find yourself being useful. So, and those are the steps that we need to take in order to turn things around. And I think everybody can do it.
Come on.
Everybody
Yes, we
do
can.
it. We also planning to have, next month is going to be busy with, we're going to continue this radio even after the election. And we're going to have a few interesting guests. One of them is going to be a governor candidate who we're excited to introduce you to. we're going to have others as well. So we're going to try to bring on most of the governor candidates that are running for next year's governor race here in Oregon. And I think you'll be able to find some of them interesting. Some are maybe not so, but definitely tune in and just again, learn and be an educated voter. Be an educated voter where you know who you're voting for, what you're voting for, and I think that'll be a great, wise way to go. So
come on,
there's a camera right there. It's staring at you, Andrey. Say a few words to encourage somebody. Just a few thoughts. Some of the last thoughts that you want to say before we close down this program.
Well, last quote, I'm just going to read it here. This is from, let's see. Yeah, this last quote is from Philippians, or Apostle Paul writing to Philippians. And he writes this, right? Therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. And with that, I just want to say that Apostle Paul is like saying, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. So we have received everything, and by us working out our salvation, it is God who's working with us, and God is with us on our side, and God is not necessarily waiting for us to. God doesn't want us to wait for somebody, because God has already empowered us. He has empowered you. He's empowered me to do everything that we have in our hearts. So I want you to just find a moment when you're like by yourself with God, when you're just connected to yourself and your purpose, and just really find out what is that you need to do today, and just like start living that life with fear and trembling, just really with that seriousness that what you have carrying inside of you is important. What God has given me is very important, and I need to do that. And I have to be very serious about that, because it is actually God who's working in the will and act in order to fulfill his good purpose. And God has great purposes for us. He has great purposes for our country, for our cities. And this is only the beginning of the best days yet.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that encouragement. And thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
I know you're always busy, so you can't always be on this program. So we appreciate it. And if you're listening to this and you want Andrey to come on more, hit that like button. Let's get a bunch of those likes, and maybe Andrey will come out in a little bit longer and a little more often.
Absolutely.
And I believe we're going to be with us again next week.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And we're supposed to have a someone we've been trying to get on the radio for quite a bit now, who has a very positive as well look at life and on the voting and elections, and it's Vasily Yarish. So hopefully we'll get him on next time. Next Thursday. So if you are listening and you want to tune in next week, you can always find us every Thursday, 5 p.m. And don't forget, again, you can always find us on all of the platforms by just looking up Slavic Vote. And again, my name is Dimitri. You've been listening to Slavic Vote Live, and thanks again to Andrey for being our guest today and co-hosting this show. And special thanks to Andrey, who's on the radio, who you're familiar with. And he's always a great person to help us and encourage us as well. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you and talking to you next week.
Власти региона. Выборы, кандидаты, стремления. Новая программа Slavic Vote Live. Каждую неделю в прямом эфире. Slavic Vote Live дает голос славянской общине по всему северо-западу. Мы говорим и информируем о важном в Вашингтоне, Орегоне, Калифорнии. По четвергам в 17:00. Присоединяйтесь к прямому эфиру на 10:40 AM. Ищите Slavic Vote в соцсетях. Мы намерены продолжать продвигать свое видение и оказывать любую необходимую поддержку сообществу, чтобы изменить ситуацию к лучшему. Slavic Vote Live.